Betty was a kind and lovely woman who always had a smile on her face. She was 38 years old with bright eyes and a love for fashion. As talented designer, she spent her days creating beautiful dresses, each one unique and special. But despite her beautiful designs and happy nature, Betty often felt lonely. She had been in many relationships, but all of them ended badly. Men would often tell her that she was too big or not pretty enough. Sometimes their mothers would even insist they break up with her because she doesn't fit their idea of beauty. It hurt Betty deeply. She wondered why people couldn't see past her body to the kind, loving person she was inside. Even her family wasn't very supportive. Her parents would often say she was a burden or a disgrace. They believed she was bringing shame to them because she wasn't married yet. Betty would cry sometimes, wishing people could just see her heart. Despite the pain, she kept smiling and doing her work, hoping that one day someone would appreciate her for who she was. One day, Betty received a big order. She was asked to design a wedding gown. Betty worked hard, stitching lace and pearls, putting all her heart into creating a beautiful gown for her special client. She imagined how happy her client would be wearing it. The wedding day finally comes, and Betty carefully packed the gown to deliver it to Cynthia. When she arrived at the venue, everyone was running around, whispering and looking shocked. Betty was confused. She approached one of the bridesmaids and asked what was going on. That is when she heard the surprising news. Cynthia, the bride, had called off the wedding. She had left, leaving the groom alone and heartbroken. Betty felt bad for the groom. Sam, she had seen him standing alone, looking lost and embarrassed. He was dressed in his suit and his friends were gathered around. Some of them tried to confront him while others seemed to be mocking him. As Betty handed over the wedding dress, Sam's eye met hers. He looked at her with such sadness that she felt her heart ache for him. In that moment, Sam did something unexpected. He looked at Betty and asked, "Will you marry me?" Betty was completely taken aback. She barely knew Sam, and here he was asking her to be his bride. But she saw the pain in his eyes, the desperation of someone who felt alone and humiliated without thinking twice. Betty nodded and said yes. The people around are shocked. Some started laughing while others shook their heads in disbelief. Betty knew this wasn't a fairy tale proposal, but she hoped that maybe, just maybe, this was her chance for happiness. Betty, dressed in simple clothes, became Sam's wife that day. She tried to believe that love would grow between them, but after the wedding, things didn't go as she had hoped. Sam seemed distant, cold even. He barely spoke to her, and it became clear to Betty that he didn't love her. He had married her to save himself from the embarrassment of being left alone at the altar. Sam's friend would often laugh behind his back, mocking him for marrying someone like Betty. They made jokes about her weight, her looks, and Sam would sometimes join in with them, making fun of her too. Betty was deeply hurt, but she tried to be strong. She decided to focus on being a good wife, hoping Sam would eventually see her for who she truly was. She cooked his favorite meals, kept the house tidy, and always greeted him with a warm smile when he came home. But Sam barely noticed her effort. He would come home late, sometimes drunk, and would avoid talking to her. Despite everything, Betty didn't give up. She held onto a smile. She held onto a small hope that things would get better. She reminded herself that patience and kindness would change people's hearts. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Slowly, without realizing it, Sam began to notice the small thing Betty did for him. He saw how she made sure he had breakfast every morning before he left for work. He noticed how she would wait up for him at night, even though he often ignored her. One evening, Sam came home early than usual. He was tired and frustrated, and for the first time he noticed how clean the house was, how delicious the food smelled, and how peaceful Betty made everything feel. When he looked at her, he saw something different. There was a warmth and kindness in her eyes that he didn't notice before. As time passes, Sam began spending more time with Betty. They started talking, sharing stories, and laughing together. Sam realized that Betty was more than just his wife. She was his friend. She listened to him, encouraged him, and supported him in ways he hadn't experienced before. The laughter they shared felt real and comforting. One evening, as they were watching a movie together, Sam felt a strong wave of emotion. He turned to Betty and held her hand, feeling grateful for the love and patience she had shown him. He realized he had fallen in love with her, not for her appearance, but for her kind heart and her genuine spirit. Sam looked into Betty's eyes and said, I love you, Betty. Truly, this time. Betty was stunned. Her heart swam with happiness. She had waited so long to hear those words. Tears filled her eyes, and she smiled, knowing that this time Sam meant it. Sam then did something unexpected. He proposed to her once again. This time, he promised to love and cherish her for who she was. Betty, with a joyful heart, says yes. Once more, they renewed their vows, surrounded by friends and family who finally saw the love they shared. Their marriage grew stronger every day. Sam was no longer ashamed of Betty or worried about what others thought. He proudly introduced her to his friend, who saw how happy she made him. Betty and Sam built a life filled with laughter, love, and mutual respect. And so, Betty's patience and kindness won over Sam's heart, showing that love, beauty lies within. They live happily ever after, proving that love can grow even in the most unexpected place. Thank you for watching. See you on my next video.